right, here we go.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Inna alhamdulillah. Wa salatu wa salamu ala al-ashraful anbiya wa mursaleen. Sayyidina wa habibina al-Mustafa. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Wa man tabi'ahum bi ihsani ila yawmiddin. Alhamdulillah. So we'd like to welcome you all to tonight's rendition of the Black Imams Roundtable. I am Imam Faheem, a.k.a. Red Caesar, the compliment to Black Caesar, you know, the gangster from Harlem. I have to my side, but definitely in front of me, in every sense of the word, my Imam, Imam Amin Muhammad of Masjid Muhammad in Atlantic City. And we have our other esteemed Imam, the genius, Imam Naeem Abdullah of Masjid Mukman of Pittsburgh, who can't join us tonight as he is traveling overseas right now. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep him safe during his journey. Amin. Alhamdulillah. So we also like to thank all of you for joining us tonight and joining us week in and week out and putting up with our stuff. You know, mashallah, we love and appreciate you all. So as we get started, we ask, as we request, to first of all share this and like this. Share this on your platforms, inshallah, so we can get the message out to some people. And also, please be sure, you know, as you enter into the center, you know, as you enter the center, they say, yo, there he goes. You know, to try to pay your coverage fee, inshallah ta'ala, as we request a modest amount of $10 or whatever you can give. And knowing, you know, this is a blessed time. We're coming up on the end of Rabi al-Awwal, the month of the blessed birth of the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, an opportune time to, you know, to gather some hasanat. So, you know, perhaps give for yourself, maybe two, three, four, five other people, inshallah. You know, $10 per person. You give $50, you cover 4 other people besides yourself. And, you know, you can just imagine what the rewards are with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as you all know, we try to reach a weekly goal of $500, which is, you know, very minimum, because we understand the, you know, we understand our people, and we know that things are difficult for everybody financially. But if everybody does a little, then we can get a lot accomplished. You know, if everybody puts a drop in the bucket, then the bucket can fill fast, you know. And so we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to double and multiply your reward, and to give you all a great reward, both in this life and in the next. I mean, so tonight's topic is our message to you. And our message to you and to you here is not necessarily those people who support us week in and week out, but those who, you know, listen to us, those who go back and listen to these podcasts. You know, some of them dissect them, some of them try to use these things against us, and some people use these things so they can gain notoriety on their own platforms, because had they not talked about us, you know, they would be, you know, non-factors, you know, persona non grata, you know. And so, and whatever the case is, we just want to try to give a clear message of what we're all about all around, because, you know, there have been incidences, you know, in the recent past, where people are kind of, you know, they're getting us twisted, you know. They're getting us twisted, and we don't want to be twisted, because we are about a clear message and what we represent and what we stand for, inshallah. And so what kind of sparked this conversation or this topic is that recently, you know, there was someone who had a podcast on, and they had 2 people who are basically claiming the same kind of methodology. And the discussion was really supposed to be centered around the Imam who was incarcerated, Imam Khalifa Marcellus Williams, I think his name was, rahimahullah, who was just executed last Tuesday? Last Tuesday or last week, one day, he was executed, even though that there was, you know, evidence that suggested that he was free and clear of the crimes that they charged him of. And there were a lot of particulars around it. But even with the controversies, the state of Missouri still decided to execute him. And so there was a lot of outrage across the country. And, you know, there was people who were filling out, you know, what they call those, you do all of the signatures, you know. So people was trying to prevent the, what is it called, Imam? petitions, yeah. And so people were really trying to fight off him getting executed. And so then there was a discussion recently that was discussing about Imam Khalifa Marcellus Williams. And so then the conversation was between two people who allegedly followed the same methodology. And then they ended up having a discussion or some ikhtilaf amongst themselves about certain things that they were discussing. And what sparked it, because as we were able to review it, just watching these stuff, because people, alhamdulillah, they send us these kind of things, and so we try to get a chance to watch them. And so near the end of that particular podcast, that there was a mention of specifically of Imam Amin, and then us, and also as the Black Imams, and there seems to be this, recurrent thing about us making takfir of people. And then even some other people, some notable authors, tafsir masters or whatever they call themselves, they say that it is unjust takfir, And so this is one of the things we want to discuss tonight, because, we're of the view, and I think I speak for Imam Amin as I mentioned this, that we're of the view that, if you're going to discuss us, if you're going to make podcasts about us, especially after, you've been invited to discuss the issues or any kind of thing that we need to discuss on a public forum, get it right. That's all we ask. Get it right, So some of these things we'll be discussing tonight. And but I was just kind of taken aback that the person that was on the other podcast, he just kind of said that we're going to be held accountable for making takfir of people, and this is the farthest thing from anything that we're about remotely, so part of that discussion is going to be our message to you, and not necessarily you all who join us in and out, join us every week, week in and week out, but for those who are really watching us, and those who never comment, and those who are interested in what we're discussing, and we represent a voice for them, so for all of those, everybody, and so we'll be discussing some of these issues tonight, inshallah. But I thought it was very fascinating because in the particular podcast that I'm discussing, two of the people who were part of that discussion, they were on our show previously. And, needless to say, it didn't really go well for them when they were pressed to have a really honest and open discussion, and that's one of the things that we're about, and as you all know, having honest and open discussions about anything that we're different over, or anything that, people find a problem with us that they want to discuss on their platforms, and I was seeing recently that, some of the discussions that people said that it's not for the awam or the general folk, or not for public, they really find time to make sure that they discuss these things in detail among their own people, so they're still the same lay people that you say they're not ready for the discussions. Why are they ready for it when you want to address it without any kind of rebuttal? Why are they ready for it when you want to discuss it, but when you're invited to discuss it with us openly and honestly and objectively, the people are not ready for it? We shouldn't have the discussion. They call it division. But when you have people in your own circles, you're ready to go into intricate details about these things. And that's something that really intrigues me, so, and that's one of the other things that we'll be discussing too. But we'll be covering this issue about, accusing us of takfir and all of these things. So our message is one of, when we started this podcast and we started this movement online, one of the issues was that it was born out of, when the COVID came, and, a lot of people were, displaced. There was a lot of turmoil, with people all over. And this became an issue where we tried to do something that was beneficial online. So, Imam Amin took up the task, may Allah preserve him, teaching every day, teaching every single day. And then we were already doing work prior to having this online platform. We go back many years, and then we just decided to, provide a platform that we can discuss issues with our people who are like-minded like us, who are from our communities, from our backgrounds primarily, and who have the same issues but may not be able to articulate it in the way that we do, and that we try to represent a voice for them, inshallah ta'ala. And so it turned into, just starting out having discussions to really an online community, the 3453 family, alhamdulillah. And we love and appreciate all of you. And of course, during that time, it turned into, we had detractors, we have haters, we have people who threatened us, we have people that basically made takfir of us, and so through all of that, we've continued to do this work because we're in it for another purpose. We're in it to earn Allah's pleasure by really teaching our people, uplifting our people, educating our people, engaging our people. So, and that's a lot of things that we do. And, and everything is not for the online anyway, because a lot of the stuff that we do is not even going to come online. A lot of stuff that we do in our individual communities, you're not going to see on a platform like this. This is just something that once a week that we do for our people who love us, and people who support us. But, the work that we do is about really uplifting our people, not to the exclusion of anybody else, but just specifying our people who have been cheated, people who have been marginalized, people who have been subjugated, and people who have been deprived religiously, and people who have to go through all of these transitions in their religion and still not knowing what the religion entails, And so we have taken up the task to make sure that we are teaching our people, the proper creed and the proper methodology, and having a good understanding based on where we come from and our experiences, how we apply Islam to our lives, not changing the deen, but making sure that we make it applicable to the times that we live in and how it can affect us. So, and because people need to know that being, Black people in America who have accepted Islam, we're a whole different breed. We're a whole different breed. I was reading the other day, I don't know if we talked about it here, but there was a person, I was reading on one of these groups or something, and there was a person who said that they really lost contact with the deen and they fell off, and they mentioned two reasons. The first reason was that they felt like a lot of this stuff they didn't understand, and then the other part was that they didn't feel like that it related to them as their situation is in America, in the lost found wilderness of North America. They didn't know how to use the deen to navigate. And so that's one of the things that we're doing to make sure that we use this divine religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us to navigate through this thing that we're going through where we live at and the things that affect us. And some of these things are exclusive to us as an ummah, Some of the things that, people, Muslims who come from other cultures and other ethnic backgrounds and other countries, they really can't relate to it. They really can't relate to it. They don't know what it's like to grow up in the projects in the hood and on welfare. No, not welfare. What they call it now, public assistance. Back in the day, we called it welfare. You know what I'm saying? You was on welfare, and all of the things, poverty, broken families, all of the stuff, dysfunction that we've had to endure as a people. And that's not even, the effects of shadow slavery and all of these things. And the product has been that we are still fragmented. We are still dysfunctional. We still have a lot of healing that we need to do. And that's really our purpose. Even if it seems like we are technical sometimes when we're talking about, or we become, just to say what our detractors say, that we become dogmatic, because they one of the accusations they make of us is that we always just talking about creed. We always just talking about creed. And we are always talking about creed because creed is very important, And so these are some of the things that we're going to discuss tonight. Our message to people, what we're really about, what we stand for, because, we don't mind people talking about us. And, as you all know, everybody who has taken a shot at us, mentioned us by name, called us out, we've invited them to come on the show. We've even, we've had instances where we went and talked with people in private. We will go talk to people in private that have any issue with us, that they want to discuss, the things that they don't understand or they think that we don't understand. We're perfectly open to go and have an honest discussion about it. And, and it ain't no hard feelings, But if you're going to go and take up the liberty to, mention our names on platforms and try to, say things about us. We just want you to get it right. Just get it right when you're talking about us, because outside of this, we're here serving our community, teaching people, helping them to heal. That's the concentration, making sure that, brothers have a sound understanding of Islam so they can be men who are, developed, men who can be husbands, men who can be fathers, so that's not just, just teaching and instruction. This is, in some instances, we're walking with people, literally holding them by the hand, attending to their needs as much as we can, and traveling around the country and connecting with, like-minded people who are upon the same methodology that we are, who understand the plight of our people and who want to see a change happen. So, and it starts with discussions, it starts with education, it starts with conversation. And so these are some of the things that we're really about. So, and we're going to expound on it even more. So that was my intro, inshallah ta'ala. And so I would turn it over to our beloved Imam Amin.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Allahumma alimna ma yanfa'una wanfa'na bima alamtana wa zidna ilma. Lillahi tabaraka wa ta'ala. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. I start with praising Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala, asking Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala to send countless blessings and salutations upon our Prophet and Messenger, Sayyiduna Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And I ask Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala to grant us sincere intentions. And I want to start that Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala told us in the Quran, كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر. Which means that you are the best nation brought forth from the people. You enjoin what is right and you forbid what is wrong. And you believe in Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. This verse in the Quran gives us an obligation that we must fulfill. Imam al-Nawawi, in the book Al-Maqasid, which we are reading now in some of our morning classes, he talked about the types of obligation. He talked about fardu ayn and fardu kifaya, the personal obligation, and we talked about this morning, and the communal obligation. And when he talked about this communal obligation, he said fardul kifaya, and among the things he mentions was al-amru bil ma'ruf wa nahyi anil munkar bi shartihi. That among the communal obligations is enjoining what is right and forbidding what is wrong when its conditions are met. This is extremely important, that in our religion, we have an obligation to enjoin what is right. What is right? Everything that the sacred law of Islam calls for. So when we look through the sacred law of Islam, everything that we're called to do or to say or to have as a state, that is al-ma'ruf, that is the good. And everything the sacred law prohibits us to do or engage in, that is munkar. So the scale for us knowing the difference between what to enjoin and what to forbid in terms of what is right and what is wrong, the scale is the sacred law. Now, the sacred law requires a level of understanding it. And hence, there are means by which we understand the sacred law. The means by which we understand the sacred law are the learned mujtahid scholars in Islam. Among those learned scholars are the likes of Imam Abu Hanifa and Imam Malik and Imam Shafi'i and Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. May Allah be pleased with all of them. Through them and through those who followed in their methodology, we learn the sacred law. And through learning the sacred law, we learn what we should order and what we should forbid. But I wanted to mention that verse because it tells us something that sometimes we act like we don't understand the concept. There is good that we should enjoin, and there is bad or evil that we should forbid. Good has its levels, and so does evil have its levels. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in speaking of the evil, he said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whoever among you sees an evil, man ra'a minkum munkaran, munkar, same word. Whoever among you sees an evil thing, a munkar, that which the sacred law calls us to avoid, let him change it with his hand. If he cannot, then let him change it with his tongue. And if he cannot, then let him change it with his heart. And that is the weakest degree of faith when one is unable to do anything else. So at minimum, there is a censoring, a forbidding of the munkar at the heart level, when you can't speak and when you're not in authority to remove that munkar with your hand. With that being said, from the Quran and the Sunnah, from the works of Imam al-Nawawi, you can check it. There is this concept of enjoining right and forbidding wrong. And there is the concept that there is right and there is wrong. So from our side, that's the scale we try our best on the Black Imams Roundtable to stick to. So whenever we speak about something, it's from that angle. It's from the angle of either enjoining something that's right or forbidding something that's wrong. Why? We believe in Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Now the question would come that are the things you're encouraging according to the sacred law something that is right and good, such that you should order others with it? And on the other side of the coin is that thing that you're forbidding, that you're warning against, that you're censoring, is that truly, according to the sacred law, something that is considered evil or bad that needs to be censored? That's the question. And then, at what level should the censoring occur? That's another important aspect. Okay, this is the issue. How do we go about censoring that one? Or even how do we go about enjoying it? If it is a good thing, that becomes a question. Imam al-Bukhari, rahimahullah ta'ala, wrote in his Sahih, narrated a narration from the route of Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas. Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, he said, addressing those who are around him, O people, Ya ayyuhan nas, O people, listen to me, meaning understand me in what I say. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Yunus, Brother Orlando, Ahlan bikum. May Allah reward you for your efforts. I'm glad you're listening. This is a very important session that you should listen to. Not to single you out, but to single you out. Right? So Abdullah ibn Abbas, radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he said, O people, listen to me, which means understand me in what I say, and make me listen to you, meaning understand you in what you say. And don't go away saying, Ibn Abbas said, which means if you don't understand well what I am saying, and I don't understand well what you're saying, don't convey that from me, and I should not convey that from you. Please, please listen to this narration. It's very important. Some of the biggest confusion occurs when you don't understand what someone's talking about. And you project your misunderstanding on the other. This is extremely important to understand. So if I'm talking, and this is why myself, I try to consciously avoid Arabic when I'm talking to people who don't understand Arabic, unless the point I'm making needs something in Arabic to bring out the point. And I need that for the point. Other than that, I try to keep it all in the language of the person I'm talking to. So there is less possibility in erring in one's understanding. That's very important. I believe, my honest opinion, that those who are spreading the idea that the black imams, specifically Imam Amin Muhammad, is making takfir on Muslims. That's a plural word, Muslims with an S, right? So that means that's blanket takfir. That's blanket saying takfir, a takfir saying a Muslim is a non-Muslim. That's blanket. because of their misunderstanding. That's why I believe they say that. And the main people who push that, I know them from a face-to-face encounter, and they definitely don't understand. From face-to-face encounters. And part of it, instead of just saying, I don't know, and I don't understand, people make their own narrative. And the sign that they make their own narrative, when they have the opportunity to actually discuss the issue at hand, they only talk behind the person they're talking about, never directly to the person they're talking about, which in and of itself is injustice, right? I remember one of my teachers, may Allah have mercy on him, students, like regular people, they sometimes had conflict. And they would come to the sheikh with their complaint about another student, for instance. And that sheikh, he used to grab them by the hand and say, come with me. And that student would get like, what do you mean, come with you? He said, come with me. I'm going to take you to brother so-and-so, and I'm going to be with you, and you tell him what is the problem, and we will solve it. And then that person would, 9 times out of 10, nah, that's all right, it ain't that deep. He would take him by the hand, and he would say, nah, it's not that deep. Why? What the sheikh was teaching us is that if you are sincere and you mentioning the problem, obviously you want to solve it. So let's go to the source and solve it. If we are truly brothers and sisters in Islam, it's right, have the conversation. In kuntum sadiqun, if you are true, if you are sincere, you should be able to have that sincere discussion. If there is not sincerity, then that's obvious why you, as I like to call it, throw stones and hide your hands. So for us, I want us to take a lesson from this. Number one, if you are ordering something good, you're obligated to do that. Likewise, if you're forbidding something bad, you're obligated to do that. By the words of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, and by the words of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and great scholars of this ummah have consensus upon that. And among those who mention this obligation, Sayyid al-Imam al-Nawawi, rahimahullah ta'ala. This is something that's well known in the religion. So that enjoining the right and forbidding the wrong is not necessarily a bad thing. In fact, it is a religious obligation. So whenever you are confronted with issues that relate to enjoining what is right and forbidding what is wrong, your task is to make sure that what you're enjoining is right and that what you're forbidding is wrong. Right? That's a task to ensure that. How do we do that? By learning the sacred law. So for us, on the Black Imams Roundtable, we are concerned with us actually learning the religion. That's the first objective in what we're doing on this platform. As Imam Faheem mentioned, we came together during the COVID pandemic with the intention to teach. We made the intention that every day we're going to teach the knowledge. Part of teaching the knowledge in general is in enjoining what is right. And part of the knowledge is to learn what is evil that you must avoid. So there's going to be forbidding the evil. That's the nature of teaching and seeking religious knowledge. So the idea that, oh, they're refuting people, that's a part of the religion, right? You're obligated to do that. And just as we take on that responsibility, it is also the obligation on the other. So the issue of enjoining right and forbidding wrong, directing people to what you believe is right, and trying to prevent them from following what you believe is wrong is something you're supposed to do in the religion. And the discussion, which people just say, we don't debate, we don't argue. Okay, don't argue, don't debate, discuss, dialogue. Use whatever description you want to use that means we're going to clarify the truth from falsehood. Whatever means you use to do that, the term you like. I don't like debate. I don't like arguing. Okay, can you teaching? Can you explaining, clarifying? Whatever other word you want to use, do it. Do what you have to do. I don't care which word you choose. Do it, because it's a religious obligation. So from the standpoint of spreading the knowledge, we have to do that. We can't stop that, or we wouldn't be following the Quran and the Sunnah. Anyone who does that would not be following the Quran and Sunnah. By the dictates and commands of the Quran and the Sunnah, you're obligated to do that. So in and of itself, it's not bad. Now, the question, as Abdullah ibn Abbas radiyallahu ta'ala anhuma mentioned, as related by Imam al-Bukhari rahimahullah, make sure you understand what I'm saying. And I need to make sure I'm understanding what you're saying so that the issue is clear. And once the issue is clear, then we can distinguish between right and wrong, al-ma'ruf and al-munkar. And once we make that distinction, we can enjoin the right and forbid the wrong. That's whenever you hear us talking about an issue, that's the underlining, driving force for the sake of Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. Now, Imam, I'm going to pass the mic in a minute, but I just want to lay out my introductory remarks, because I want to make it a teaching session, because we need to learn. التكفير that means considering someone to have committed disbelief. Listen, that's what that means. That means you considered someone who was originally a Muslim, that's what they're using it for, as a disbeliever. Or it can be someone who just did something or said something that was disbelief, and you said that's kufr. So we say a takfir is saying that you have become a disbeliever by something you believed, you said, or you did. One of the three. So at takfir is a part of Islam. Does everyone realize that? The concept of at-takfir is among the rules in Islam. Why? Because in Islam, you have to distinguish between al-iman, faith, and al-kufr, disbelief. In making that distinction, as a result of making that distinction, you're going to make a takfir. Religiously, that's going to occur. Now, who's qualified to make that distinction and then therefore issue that judgment is another story. But it does exist. Does everyone understand that? If you take that out of the religion, you have destroyed a part of Islam. So the idea that we don't make takfir at all is not a part of Islam. Does everyone understand that? Please let me know you follow me. Remember I said understand me and make sure I understand you, as Ibn Abbas said. Do we really understand that the concept of a takfir is a part of Islam? And it's a part of our religion that you cannot remove. So don't let nobody tell you like we don't make takfir. Yes, we do. Maybe we individually don't meet the conditions that we individually make a takfir. But in Islam, there is the concept of takfir. And those who are qualified to issue that religious judgment are obligated in terms of enjoining what is right and forbidding what is wrong to do it. Do y'all follow? This is important to understand, because part of the misunderstanding when people say, oh, they make takfir. Okay, are they right and wrong in that? Because the concept of making takfir in and of itself is an Islamic concept, right? Imam al-Shafi'i said to a man in his time, he said, لَقَدْ كَفَرْتَ بِاللَّهِ الْعَظِيمِ. You disbelieved in Allah the Most High. That's takfir. Scholars wrote books on issues that lead to kufr. There is no major book of Islamic jurisprudence, al-fiqh, major book, in any of the four Sunni schools, the Hanafi school, Maliki school, Shafi'i school, Hanbali school, except it has a section that's dedicated to when someone falls into kufr, which is the chapter or the section of ar-ridda, apostasy. It exists in every school, in every major book of fiqh that exists. And there are rules in every school that applies to the one who falls into that situation. So, what do they mention in those books? All four schools. They mention that that occurs either by a belief in the heart, an action with the body, or a statement with the tongue. And then they list examples, not comprehensive of everything, because there are many things you can do with your tongue and with your body and believe in your heart. So they give, by way of example, cases, and then they lay principles. That's a part of our religion. That's a part of our religion, right? So the one who tries to act like that's not the case has not really understood our religion at all, right? Now the question, since we understand this is a part of the religion, who's qualified to do that? And what steps need to be taken for someone to do that? I'm going to say firsthand, none of us in general are at the level to make that judgment on people specifically without having recourse to the knowledgeable scholars of the religion. And since we're not scholars, then we will say this issue we know is wrong. And from what we've learned, this issue is kufr. It's disbelief. However, how you reach there may have details that I don't know. So I'm telling you, this issue, you're mistaken in it. It has been labeled as disbelief. As for you, you need to go seek out this issue and clarify this issue in particular to you with those who are more knowledgeable in the details of this issue. That's the safest position for one like ourselves in general. Then there are some specific things that are so clear that they're necessarily known to be a part of the religion. So if someone, for instance, comes and say, prayer, salah, is not an obligation in the religion of Islam at all, for nobody, for instance, then we don't have to hesitate. He's a kafir. But let me give you an example. Such a person could be insane. And that may be an excuse of why he made such a statement. And in this case, he wasn't even morally responsible. So the judgment is going to be different for him, right? Once his case is looked into. But outwardly, he looked normal. What he said is by scholarly consensus and necessarily no disbelief, and it's something necessarily known to be of the religion. That's a certain case. We're not talking about those cases. We're talking about something that is not that explicit, not that clear, has many other aspects to it. In those issues, we may disagree with you, but we will not rush to put a judgment on you. That's our position on the Black Imams Roundtable. That's our position. Now, every case has its details, and we understand that. For everyone listening, and we see over 100 and something people, and I'm quite sure there's more. Do you understand what I just said? Is it clear? And I want just to pause quickly. Is there any questions about what we've so far mentioned? I don't want to have a bunch of talk and we didn't understand. when we will finish this session of the Black Imams Roundtable, I want everyone to understand. And once you understand, you have also the responsibility of brotherhood towards us. When you see someone fabricating about us, you must speak up. You must, because you said you understood and you know that this is our position. And as a brother in Islam, a sister in Islam, you have the responsibility to clarify them lies. Right? I think it's extremely fair and important because I'm going to touch another secret thing that's going on, why they're doing everything in their power to mislead people about us. That's the next discussion, and I'll leave it to Imam Faheem, but there were quick questions. If I take one, and we could take them out. And that was one, what is takfir? That was explained. Okay, go ahead, Imam.
If you take one, you got to take them all.
That was it. I didn't see any more.
No, I put another one in the private chat. Someone asked about when does takfir equal distinction?
I don't understand the question. What does it mean?
Maybe they will, And so basically,
well, sure, I don't understand your question. Okay. When does takfir equal distinction? So takfir, if I can take a crack at it, I don't understand the question fully. But takfir is when you consider someone's disbelief. But you have to distinguish if you're right in that or wrong. So don't rush. Before you jump out the window and say, he's a kafir or she's a kafir, make sure you know what necessitates kufr. Maybe you're mistaken. And even though it could be wrong, that doesn't mean it reaches the level of disbelief. That's another discussion. So before you rush to that judgment, make sure you know what you're talking about. Right? Because you may be wrong. And trust me, you could probably be wrong sometimes. So don't rush. Go ask. It cannot kill you. Right? Listen, this came from such and such. This is what I understood. Could you please look into this? You have more knowledge than me about the issue. Go to the people of knowledge. فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Ask the people of knowledge if you don't know. That's fine. Right? And say, I don't know. Right? It's okay to say in the proper place, I don't know. Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Umar, radiyallahu ta'ala anhuma, he said that knowledge is three. And basically he said the Quran, which is the speaking book, the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ that has preceded us, and wala adri, and I don't know. That's part of knowledge. I don't know. No one knows everything. Don't be shy to say, I don't know the judgment for that. I learned something that indicates that's wrong. But the judgment related to you, I don't know. I will ask. I don't know. Do you follow the point? Some of us, we don't like to say, I don't know. If you don't know, you don't know. No one's born knowledgeable. People learn, right? So say, I don't know. It don't have to be you to judge someone as a kafir. It don't have to be you. And most of the times it shouldn't be you, meaning us. I'm working my pronouns. Go ahead, Imam.
Okay, so alhamdulillah, you heard Imam Amin mention, what are some of the ways of committing kufr. It could be by a statement, and it could be by an action, and it can be by a belief, And then there's also the distinction, not the same distinction that the brother was talking about, but a distinction between identifying what is kufr, or what are things that lead to kufr, and calling someone a kafir. It's two different things, and to say someone that is a kafir straight away, there's first of all that there's reservation about it, that there has to be, beyond a reasonable doubt, that the person said something and or did something. For instance, if a person as a Muslim, took the Quran and just stomped on it, right? This would be an act of kufr that would take them outside of Islam. But was there some type of compulsion? Were they out of their minds, or were they under any influence? Something like that, because you know that the Quran is something that's sacred, and it's something that you can't even touch unless you're in a state of purification, right? And so you wouldn't rush, because you have to know the circumstances. And then, the issue where where they usually accuse us of is when we talk about belief, right? And so this is where it really gets I don't want to say zesty, because zesty means something else, right? When it gets heated, right? And so you often hear Imam
Pause.
Amin, yeah, pause, no
Pause.
Diddy, no Diddy, and I heard a new one, no Saudi. So this is where it really gets heated when we talk about people who have a belief that they attribute to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a literal sense, while assigning him attributes that are literal, that indicates having some type of substance or body parts. And then they just try to minimize it by saying in a manner befitting his majesty. So you often hear Imam Amin mention the line in the Aqidah of Imam Tahawi, the one that says that whoever attributes to Allah ascriptions of humans, then they have committed disbelief. And so many people, if they understand this properly, when people who say these things, and you hear them say them, and you can find them in their works, they will say basically that Allah has something or possess something. They say that Allah has a hand, he has a face, he does all of these things, and they are assuming that it is in the literal sense. And then they say they free themselves from tashbih by saying in the matter befitting his majesty. So this stuff, when you attribute these parts and stuff that apply to humans and created things and attribute them to Allah, and then just say in the matter befitting his majesty, this is problematic, right? And so what they're actually saying is that, when they say that Allah is not the same as how we say that Allah is attributed with yad, and what it means for Allah, we just leave it. They say that Allah has a hand, but it's not like anything that we can imagine, and that is in the manner befitting his majesty. So you hear the difference in that already. So they're saying Allah has something that they translate as hand, and understand the hand being the literal sense, but it's some type of like grand, majestic hand that you just can't imagine. And then they use this with all of the other attributes. For instance, you hear some of them quoting their scholars saying that, that Allah gets bored, right? And when they understand these attributes in the literal sense, right? So they're giving Allah attribute of boredom, right? And what is boredom? It is just something after you have some type of excitement. So it's a change. It's a change of states. And so they're attributing this thing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is saying because Allah uses as a hadith about Allah, getting bored, And so they're saying that they understand this in a literal sense, but they're saying this is a boredom, actual boredom, but in a manner that befits his majesty. So it's some grand, majestic, way that Allah gets bored. We just don't know how it is. And all of the other things, when they attribute jogging to Allah, when they attribute Allah having organs, body parts, and some of their so-called, ulama, the kibar, have said this in their works. They say this in their works. And so when we identify this stuff and say, to believe these things is kufr. We're not saying that they are kuffar, but to believe these things is kufr, which has already been established by the Salaf al-Salih, by the Imams, the great scholars of the past, right? And so this is where the thing becomes problematic, because then they'll say, oh no, we're not saying Allah has a hand like a limb. We're just saying that he has a hand that's befitting his majesty. And all of this other stuff that they say, you know. And I can't remember the last one that one of them said. Basically, that Allah, like, I don't even want to say it because I can't remember it, you know, because we want to be good. You said you had something, man?
It was said. That's an easy
It
way
was
to
said.
put it. Right.
About Allah having a lower izar or something. I can't remember exactly. But all of this stuff that they attribute to Allah, that the implications of it is kufr, right? The implications of it is kufr. Not saying that they are kuffar, but if they believe these things about Allah, these are blameworthy things, right? But then, as the rules of takfir mean that you don't rush to people because you have to understand everybody's level to say that they are a kafir, you know. And as Imam Amin mentioned, some of the things are straight away kufr. If someone believes that Allah is in a place, because this is where if Allah is in a place or in a location that he's subjected to movement, because they don't understand that these things are figures of speech when we talk about istiwa, you know, that they saying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala descends, and they believe that it's an actual descending as a movement from one place to another, or from a higher place to a lower place, or that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the, you know, the heavens and earth in 6 days, and then he ascended above the throne, and then they say in the matter befitting his majesty, you know, meaning that he went from movement. He was subjected to movement. He was subjected to space. He was subjected to dimension. And all of these things are creations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is completely free and clear of any created thing, right? And so this is where they talk about where you not call him kafir, but identifying that this stuff is kufr, you know. And, you know, if you believe this stuff, like some of them do, you know, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for safety, but we are not qualified to make takfir, but we are obligated to know what kufr is. And when we see it and when we hear it, that we, you know, it's, you know, like when you're a referee, you're qualified to know when you have to call the certain penalties, you know, and not saying that that's what we do, but, you know, knowing what this stuff is. Knowing what the opposite of iman is kufr, and when you identify and when you hear it, and then you have to call it out, you know. And as Imam Amin mentioned, it's just part of the deen, you know. And so identifying these things, you know, that doesn't mean that we're calling people kuffar, but these things are very problematic. So they attribute these things. We're talking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala azza wa jal. We're talking about the creator of everything in existence without any need. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he is pre-existing, you know. He is he has no beginning, he has no end, he has no likeness, he has no similitude, he has no rivalry. This is who we're talking about, you know. And so, okay. So Allah isn't in a location. Well, if you understand what a location is, a makan is a place. And so if it's a makan is a place, then a place has depth, a place has dimension, a place has size, a place has an exact location. And if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in a location, then he's subjected to the place that's a location, which would make him limited. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is free and clear from that. And so we understand what this about istiwa al-arsh. It doesn't mean as a physical istiwa. It means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has what's called al-ulu, the elevatedness as an honor. That it doesn't mean that he is above the throne, like in the location and in the place and subjected to time and space and direction and all of these things. And so these are attributes of created things. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and created things go through changes, right? And so that's what we have to understand. So when you and see, this is where the problem comes, lost in translation, and why the scholars have always said to these attributes like istawa and yad and ayn and wajh, Don't translate them because they give an implicated meaning that is not befitting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when people say that Allah is above his throne, they above is like something above something, like us, in levels. That doesn't apply to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These are figures of speech that we should just leave alone. Istawa ala al-arsh, and that's it. Don't delve into it. Don't think about it. Don't contemplate on it. And it has some meaning that is beyond us, that we don't need to know. It's not for us to know, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's majesty is so great that we don't we don't delve into what's called his essence. His essence is off limits in trying to imagine what it's like. So this stuff is important when we get into details. And this is why one of the reasons why these people don't want to get into detailed discussions about this, because we've already proven here that Imam Amin, he go overboard with it. Am I clear? Do you understand? And not that he go overboard. I'm just joking. We be mocking Imam Amin sometimes.
Imam, think about it.
Yeah.
Most of us don't understand, and we won't say anything.
No, I know that. I was going to get to that.
A lot of us, they don't understand.
Yeah.
I would like to say the majority of English-speaking people who learn about the deen from, and I'm going to be straight, the Wahhabi, so-called Salafi, so-called Athari, so-called, who have that same belief that is blasphemous if they take it literally like they're saying. If they really believe that. Most of them, when you explain the outcome of what they're saying, they be like, I don't believe that. Which means you really don't understand. Do you understand my point? So you're like, that's why I don't mind having conversations with people. Because when we have a conversation, listen, I don't know how to say this, right? We ain't debating. It's not a debate. If you think Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has attributes that resembles attributes of creation, you have a problem with your Islamic belief. No matter how you word that. If the outcome of your belief is a resemblance between Allah and his creation, you have a problem. And if that's not the case, we don't have a discussion. So actually, what someone is really trying to tell you is Allah is like his creation. I just don't know how he's like his creation. And if you don't believe that, then you're denying Allah's attributes. Come on, bro. Right? That's what's really being said. The average person who uses their intellect will never accept that. That's why I said understand. Right? That's it. That's the end of the discussion. But many people have been hoodwinked to making something that is actually absurd Islamic belief. Stuff's absurd, right? But it's funded, it's pushed to people who don't understand. Our job is to make sure something understands. It's simple. It's simple, like just very simple. Like you raised the issue. I'm sorry, I cut you off. Please. I went off track for a minute. Go ahead, Imam. I'm sorry. I'll come back to that.
You're sorry that you're not sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I noticed that you were talking and the point made me go long and I realized, wait, you cut him off. So
no, that's cool. Yeah, so I was looking at somebody's comment. And they were saying some of the okay, that he never describes himself by such as being bored or jagged. We were talking about jogging. Yeah, I think you need to look into some of these beliefs of some of these people who have said these things. For instance, I give you an example, and we're naming names. Sheikh bin Baz. He has a Q&A session where he commented. Somebody asked him about the hadith where the Prophet ﷺ said that the breath of the fasting person, the smell of the breath of the fasting person is more beloved to Allah than the scent of musk, right? And they asked him, can Allah have a thing called smell? And he said that it's not far-fetched, meaning that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has this attribute of smelling, which this is a figure of speech. It was just to highlight how beneficial it is for the person who's fasting, and when their breath is bad, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves this, and many other examples that we can do a whole discussion on this. But maybe you should look into some of these beliefs, brother. What's his name? Amin al-Musaddiq. And then the other part is that when people talk about these attributes, they are not saying what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, because that's the way of the Salaf. It's just to recite the verses as they came and leave them, right? Pass the verses on as they came, right? And leave them. They are taking these words and translating, and the translation is a meaning or interpreted meaning, and then making this meaning give implications to things that lead to blasphemous beliefs, and so that's the distinction. So smelling is something that has a beginning, as a created thing, something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created. He's completely free and clear of anything that resembles any kind of change or being connected to creation like that.
Can we ask Brother Amin al-Musaddiq, is he Salafi? Wahhabi? Athari? Which
straight
one?
on out.
Brother Amin on YouTube, do you identify as a Wahhabi, Salafi, Athari? What do you identify as? We're Ash'ari, so we're not hiding. We are Ash'ari. We follow the Ash'ari school in Aqidah. What do you follow? It's not an attack. It's an honest question. You follow something. What do you follow? Where do you acquire your knowledge of the attributes of Allah? From what route? Don't tell me Quran and Sunnah. People, living scholars of the past, from whom did you learn the belief in Allah? Could you answer that? That's the other thing what I don't like about online. You get to hide. We got to be out front, but you get to hide. It's not fair. No, you out here, no hiding. Come out. In our having fun. You know that warriors come out to play. Allahu Akbar.
He just magically kind of disappeared, it seems. I don't know. Yeah, but
listen, here's my thing. If you're commenting, that means you're engaged. Since you engage. Right? I'm not your enemy. We're talking. We're trying to learn collectively. We're trying to benefit. If things are not clear, we need to make them clear. Why the hesitation? Right? If I'm wrong, I want to be corrected. I don't want to remain wrong. And if I believe I'm right, I'm obligated to explain and defend what is right. Do you understand my point? So listen, it's not an ego trip. I'm trying to learn, right? If I'm wrong, then explain to me why I'm wrong. If I am right, explain to me, and I'm explaining to you why you're wrong. And inshallah, if we're sincere, we're both going to be on the right and we're going to avoid the wrong. So as you type wow, Amin, type what methodology do you follow? Since you can type wow. And I'm only saying that so I know who I'm talking to. Like, remember that I said, make sure you understand me and I understand you, right? Okay, so we'll leave that alone. I guess you're not going to answer.
He said,
But how are you having a discussion and you don't want to talk? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Right? If you're going to have if you're not going to talk, don't talk. If you're going to talk, talk. It's just fair. Like, other than that, it's just, then what's your intentions? What's your intention? If you're not sincere, why are you engaging? And committing, finding yourself, maybe confusing people and committing sins, and you're not even serious. Right? Don't do that. Just be quiet and listen. Okay, go ahead, Imam Faheem. I'm sorry. So you already know me. Y'all know me well. If we're going to have a discussion, we're going to have a discussion. If we're not going to have a discussion, don't have a discussion. That's fine with me too. But we can't have a partial discussion because all that do is lead to confusion. I believe in getting understanding. Even at the end of that understanding, if we differ, that's okay with me. I'm fine with that. But at least we know why we differ at the end of it. And the people who's listening to us understand why we differ clear. Right? That's it. Nothing personal. Allah gave me an intellect, gave you an intellect, and we're obligated to use it to the best of our ability. That's the end of the day. And no one can fix that. Allah guides whom he wills and causes us to go astray whom he wills. But in the meanwhile, I don't know if that's me or you, and we got to keep striving till we meet Allah. Tabaraka wa ta'ala. That's it. All right. Okay, go ahead, Imam Faheem. Inshallah.
Okay, yeah. So I was mentioning like how it could be seen, well, not really seen, but identifying what constitutes kufr and calling someone a kafir are two different things totally. And so saying someone is a kafir is something that we don't do unrestrictedly, and we don't do at all because we're not qualified, But we are, like as I was saying, we are obligated to know what constitutes kufr, but we refrain from just making explicit takfir on people, which we're being accused of, because I've heard it a number of times, and one person said specifically that we make takfir of them, but saying that Allah is above the throne in a manner befitting His Majesty. No, we don't make takfir of that person. We are identifying to believe that and putting Allah in the space and in the location and subjecting him to movement. That is kufr. So you get that? That is kufr. To put Allah in a place and in the space and subject him to time and subject him to movement and subject Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to change, or none of that which is befitting His Majesty, that is kufr, right? And so we never said that the person who says it specifically that they are a kafir, but we're identifying these bad beliefs. And it is very important because people are going around saying like and understanding literally that Allah is above the throne, and then on their side, or I heard one of these Wahhabis saying that whoever doesn't believe Allah is not above the throne is a kafir. I've heard them say this, right? And then we ask the question when we want to have discussion or whenever they're ready, what do you mean by above? What do you mean by above? Above in the English language has 23 different meanings. Which one do you apply to Allah? When you cross the board, you're understanding all of these things in the literal sense, but even in English, above also has a meaning of elevatedness, right? It also has a meaning of elevatedness, you know. And so that's the kind of things that we need to discuss, and what we make clear to with our message to you, meaning those people who are misunderstanding us or are trying to come on and, you know, trying to counter what we're saying, which we welcome. You know, I mean, we talking about people who are actually, you know, making their podcasts about us and, you know, taking shots at us. These are the people that we really want to talk to. But the people who you know, who engage us week in and week out, you know, we're just, you know, we're just engaging our people and you know, teaching them and clarifying things. But many people here already, you know, part of our family, really kind of understand these things already. So our message is to those who are not commenting, those who are, you know, have a problem understanding this, you know. And so we ask Allah who's subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us clarity in all of our affairs, you know. Amin. So we are before I turn it back over to Imam Amin, I want to see where we are with our, you know, suggested donations, you know.
I told you we can't know that because of the people who was involved with keeping that are busy at the moment.
Okay, so we're going to assume that we did. So we're going to assume that we didn't hit it, right. And then we're going to assume that all of you are going to honor the suggested donation, and then we're going to assume that you want to earn some more hasanat. So you're going to, even if you gave $10, you're going to give $10 more, and you're going to give 20 for someone else, and to help us reach our goal, inshallah ta'ala. So,
and listen, it's an ongoing job. It's not like we said that's a minimum. What we need is far the work we're trying to do. Listen, it requires funding. And the more funding we have, the more work we can do. Somebody got to dedicate their life to this stuff, right? Somebody got to be available to teach. You could speak, Habibi. You're welcome to speak. Here's the link. Hey, just be respectful. If you're not respectful, no. Right? I mean, you're welcome.
Yeah.
You can log in. Yeah. We brothers. You can talk. There's the link. Some people can't. They need to speak. Speak. We're not at war, right? We're brothers trying to teach and learn our deen.
Okay, here's another good question while we're waiting.
I mean, there's the link. I put it up right there, right? Just be respectful. If you're not, we're just gonna cut you off, and no problem. But if we're trying to have a real dialogue, it's beneficial. You might ask something that someone's trying to know. You may, we brothers, man, it's not a war. Right? It ain't that deep. If there's a brother here.
Now there's
he came up to me. It's two brothers. They came up to me at different events. Imam, I mean, you making takfir. I'm like, Ak, you know me. What you talking about? You ever heard me call you a kafir? He's like, no. I said, so why are you listening to that? You actually can reach me. Why are you listening to that? Yeah, you're right, Imam. I'm sorry. So what happened is they triggered you because they told you all authorities to Imam Amin is a kafir. And you know me. Why you didn't say, no, I know that brother. I'm going to call him. I actually did programs with that brother. I actually invited that brother to my masjid, right? And he taught in my masjid. And he ain't calling nobody no kafir. And Imam Amin don't hold his tongue. I know him. If Imam Amin feel away, he gonna tell you. He don't hold his tongue. He'll say in your face, that's wrong. And it ain't that he's trying to be tough. He's just not that kind of person. He really wants good for us. So if he tell you, yo, that's a mistake, he gonna open books with you. He gonna sit down and discuss with you. He's that kind of guy. I said, you know that. Why you ain't tell him that? Oh, yeah, my bad. I'm going to go fix that. Yeah, because you jumped on me. I'm quite sure you jumped on him because you know me. Because if you thought I was like he thought, you wouldn't have jumped on me like that. Right? Because you know me, you know I'm not like that. So go tell that guy fix that stuff.
Hey, maybe the link that you put up, maybe this is another opportunity for our cycloptic, self-pontificating author and model to join in.
Come on. Now that's, oh no. They ain't doing that. Listen, let me tell you. the space, you know how they used to say in the university, Joker be talking reckless. You be like, yo, man, it ain't nothing but air and fear between us. Nothing else. You ain't got to do all that rapping. If you got something you got to get off your chest, go for it. It's nothing between us but air and fear. Nothing else. Go for it. And we're talking on a thing where we're just talking about religious knowledge, trying to go to paradise. So why are you hesitant to have a real discussion? Ain't nobody gonna punch you in the mouth. It ain't that deep. Right? We just trying to learn. Like we just trying to get to paradise, bro.
Yeah, right? my little 2-year college, my little institution, you know, we used to say, man, you got a problem, the snap lock. You can't get out to the guards bust the door.
And I want to say this, speak for myself. I'm telling you, if you meet me in person, I'm not like people imagine. Like, I'm not a bad dude. I love Muslims. I love people. I don't like misguidance, but I understand sometimes how we got there. I used to be an Ansar. I understand. I used to think the black man was God and the white man was the devil. I understand. I'm gonna tell you a story. I laugh.
Tell us about the backup singer stories and passion.
Yeah, that one too, right? We was little, right, in the hood, right? They don't know no better. So we used to, one of the early books of the Ansars was called Back to the Beginning. How many real ex-Ansars we got out there? Real ex-Ansars. You remember when the books were just pamphlets, like paper pamphlets? The book Back to the Beginning? Y'all remember that? We're going way, way back. 40 years, 45 years ago, right? Let me see if we got real hardcore ex-Ansars up in this joint. Right, there was this book called Back to the Beginning. So it used to be telling about, you know, black man came from Africa and white man took us, you know, all the stuff, right? And so we had like 2 copies in the hood, right? Right, we had 2 copies in the hood. So we was passing the book, because a bunch of young brothers in the projects, we passing the book around, you know, we doing our thing. And during Ramadan, so we don't got no teachers. We just reading the pamphlets in the hood, doing what we do. So we made up in our mind. Now remember, we only 12, 13 years old. We don't know no better, right? We made up in our mind that during Ramadan, we could go to the supermarket and steal all the dates because we got to break our fast, but we taking back what the white man took from us in Africa. That was our concept. And we was some rowdy little dudes, and we would go hit the stores during Ramadan. We ain't know about stealing. We ain't think about none of that stuff. We was like, we taking back what's rightfully ours from the devil. So all of us been through crazy stuff, thinking we was trying to be on the Sirat al-Mustaqim. I don't know how we all of a sudden get to the point that we never was misguided ever in our lives. For most of us, that's foolish. Most of us know we go through stages in learning, right? So with that understanding, we should treat each other properly. I'm talking about just like, man, ain't that deep. We're just trying to get to the right stuff, all of us, right? Yeah, the brother was like 5%. He walking around talking about some arm, leg, arm, head. Allah. I don't know how you get arm, leg, arm, head, and the name of Allah is Alif, Lam, Ha. Right? And it don't spell that in Arabic. We ain't know no better. Right? We just... We don't know. We trying to learn, right? So stop taking things so personal. It ain't that deep. It's deep if we die in that state. But as long as we're alive, we can make Tawbah, we can repent, we can learn properly, and we could grow. So every every conversation we have is a growth. It's not a beef, right? Unless we arrogant. And if we arrogant, then that's a whole nother issue. Okay, here goes our brother. He ain't connected yet.
Okay, are you coming?
Brother Amin. Oh, here you go.
Okay, somebody.
All right, brother Amin, are you there? Uh-oh, his internet not working.
Oh no.
Oh, no. Okay. We waiting for brother Amin. He's on, but his internet is not. There you go. Assalamu alaikum, Sayyidi. How you feeling?
Wa alaikum salam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How you doing, Imam?
I am great. Where you from?
I'm from Chicago initially, but I am currently in Gary, Indiana.
Right.
Alhamdulillah.
That's not that far from Chicago, right?
Yeah, it's like I work in Chicago still, so no, it's not that far.
Okay.
I want
All right, good.
Jazakallah khaira,
Why yakum?
for the opportunity.
Go ahead.
I wanted to share a little clarity on my end.
Go ahead.
First, my questions were centered around conversations that I've had previously with others. And to give also a little clarity, I am not a Wahhabi. I follow the same methodology as you declared yourself, that of Ashari. And I follow Imam Shafi madhab. And my question really was this: when someone says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when describing himself with a hand, that is, to his befitting to his majestic, or majesty of whatnot, is it this? That's the ayat that they're talking. They're trying to get some clarity to. And I was just asking, is it the same when someone try, like, Abbas, Sheikh Abbas that he just quoted? That's like taking, like, to make a statement about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can smell when he never said he can smell. Like that to me is totally different from the ayat in reference to a hand. But not to say that you should explain it neither, though, right? In the way that people do. I'm just saying that I believe that the two are completely different in many ways, right? But they are the same too. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I'll let Imam Faheem go, and I'll try to help clarify as best as I can, so we can just be like understanding. Especially since you said you're Ashari, I can explain to you in a way that we understand. Go ahead, Imam Faheem.
Okay, well, first of all, brother, assalamu alaikum and welcome. We thank you for coming on. So when we talk about these, now there wasn't an ayah. Well, there's an ayah that mentioned about yad, or which translated as hand. But when we talk about hadith and hadith qudsi, there are other attributes that that indicate something, like Allah doing these things, right? And so it's not a verse in the Quran. Some of these are hadith qudsi, right? For instance, there's a hadith about where it says that Allah laughs, right? And what I'm saying is that when these people understand these attributes in the literal sense, but thinking that it's something just different and majestic from what it's a literal understanding, but it's just some type is like just way profound that we can't understand. That's problematic. When the way of the Salaf is just to relate these verses, whether it's in the Quran or as a hadith, and just leave them as they are. Because when you translate them, that's given a meaning. There's a meaning when you give the translation, right? And so ideally, you're not supposed to translate these things. And so when Allah says things about in the hadith qudsi that Allah laughs, or Allah jogs, or the smell of the fasting person's breath is more beloved to Allah, and then they are understanding that Allah has a quality of smelling. These things are problematic because they're attributing things to Allah that are not befitting His majesty. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alamin. You actually had gave clarity, um, after the fact of asking the question. You had
Okay.
continued to talk and you actually had gave clarity. And you actually responded, actually, and gave the clarity. And I had said, alhamdulillah, I get it. And I had already gotten it, right? But I just wanted to hear it, if that makes sense. And I definitely, like, absolutely agree and understand what you're saying. But I would say that for those who take hadith kursi and then try to make it equal to that of the Quran, the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had already made a distinction between those two, right? The revelation of Quran and the hadith kursi. We know that these are the words of the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in a way of expressing what Allah has expressed to him, right? And I don't, yeah, but alhamdulillah, I think anyone that would take a hadith qudsi and then try to make it, I guess, equal to that of what Allah said in the Quran would be an error just by default. But I do get it now. Alhamdulillah, I appreciate the clarity. And again, I'm glad you asked me, that which was needed, meaning for me to speak and say whatever clarity that I needed. And alhamdulillah, Imam, Amin, and you and yourself definitely gave that clarity to me, and it helped me now have a conversation with other people and give the same clarity, inshallah.
Inshallah. And we welcome you, Brother Amin, that just this is how we are online and face to face. So we would hope. Actually, you're gonna be in Chicago next month, ain't you, Imam Faheem?
Yeah, I'm supposed to come out there, you know what I mean, to meet up with Lil Durk and them, man. So maybe we could chop it up.
So he'll be at a.
Oh, that's interesting. I go to the Masjid that they typically go to.
Okay,
Yeah, so you know about that program that they have in there? It's like a new Shahada kind of thing.
My Brother Convention.
Yeah, you know about that?
Yes. Yes.
He's gonna be there.
Yeah, inshallah.
Imam Abdullah Madyun is.
Madyun, yeah.
I would call him my Imam. He is my Imam.
Let me tell you, he's a funny guy, right? He used to come to Atlantic City. So one day we was giving him a hard time. And so you heard me say this, that came from him. So he was talking, he was like, yeah, Imam, I understand all that, man. We just want to go to paradise.
That sounds like him.
He said, yeah, Imam, I understand all that, man. We just want to go to paradise, man. He said, I know all these things you talking about, bro, but we in a place where the guy's doing construction on the Sadaqah box. He said, so the guy's in there doing construction. He said, no, man, that's Ray, man. He's on crack. So give Abdullah Madyun, give him my salam, mashallah. He's a funny guy.
Yeah, now
you're Imam Amin. Your voice actually remind me of another dear Imam to me, and that's Imam Sawaz Rahaj. I don't know if anyone ever told you that.
MashaAllah. May Allah honor him and raise his rank. All right, Habibi, we got to go and continue. But you're always welcome, inshallah.
Just real quick, man, when I come to Chicago, I need a better reception because I got to put my brothers on blast. When I went last time, they didn't receive me, man. And I was a little heated, man. I went out to the Windy City. I took the subway. I was out there on I forget, it was like 79th or something, man. I was in the hood. And I was supposed to meet up some brothers. If they listening, they left me hanging out there, man. So don't leave me hanging when I come through this time.
Oh, inshallah. If we can some way, somehow exchange info, you can find me online, actually, the Gary Muslim Center. I am the Imam there. So inshallah, if you can find that online, you can find the number and reach me.
So send him go to the Quba, send him a link, or you got Facebook, send him a message and connect. Man, you need to be connecting.
Inshallah, absolutely.
Inshallah. All right. Assalamu alaikum, Amin. Barakallahu.
Wa alaikum salam, Imam.
All right, assalamu alaikum.
So you have this other question, which is similar to that.
How does one know what to take literally, or how do we know if we are giving the right meaning to some of the things based on the translations? Well, so there's these ayats in the Quran that they're divided into two parts. There are those that's called muhkamat, the verses that are clear in their meaning, and then there are some that are called mutashabihat, and those are verses that are what they call allegorical or not clear or has a vagueness in the meaning that that you can't just extract one clear meaning from those verses. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for instance, says, Inna Allah Ghafur Rahim, that verily Allah is forgiving and merciful. If you translate that, Ghafur is forgiving and merciful, then that's a clear meaning that, it might have depths to it, but it's a clear translation that you understand that. But when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that's an example of muhkamat, then when you have verses that are mutashabihat, some of these words that have not that we don't know what they mean, but the vagueness of it is that you don't explore it too deeply, right? For instance, when Allah says he istawa al arsh, that he made istawa al arsh over the throne. If you understand that to be like literally above the throne, that Allah is in the space, then that becomes problematic when you translate it like that. But if you just say istawa al arsh, and that the meaning that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala means by it is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has elevatedness, elevatedness or highness as far as rank, right? But not as a place. And so some of these words, as we mentioned earlier, they shouldn't even be translated into English, like yed, like wedge, or they should have a proper translation. So you hear people, they would translate the word wedge as face, right? Or you'll see people, sovereignty. Or you'll see people translate wedge as countenance, right? But if you translate wedge as face, and you understand face meaning that this object that's this, and this, that's not for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why in English, face by itself, that's what it means, the forefront on the head, right? Or whatever the meaning that they give. This doesn't apply to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So understanding these translations, but understanding Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and knowing him, knowing that these things don't apply to him. And so when you get that understanding of how to properly believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and what is possible, impossible, and what is necessary to believe about him, the things that we teach, then you understand these translations a little better, and Allah knows best.
So
that's just another question too.
All right. Sister Aziza,
you put it up.
If you're able, because I would like to hear you directly. If you're able to come on and make sure we are your understanding, just if you don't have to show your face, you don't have to put a video, just have the mic. I would like to make sure you understood what was said. And it's hard to type all of that. So the link is there. Those who have questions that they really want to express, as long as we're respectful, we got a couple minutes. Make sure you understand. And maybe I think we should just be like call-in stuff, right? That should be a new aspect of the Black Imams Roundtable.
Segment, the call-in show.
Yeah, the call-in part, you could just speak and call in. And, sometimes you can ask your questions. It's much clearer. Now we don't have to, you don't have to be confused. Okay, let me hit a couple of these questions real quick so we can get them out.
Okay.
What is the proper meaning of yet? Let me answer that, inshallah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yet has a meaning, the Arabic word yet, when attributed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, has a meaning that Allah knows best, that is not clear to us. So we affirm that Allah has sifatu yad, the attribute of al-yad. As for its meaning, definitively, Allah knows best. That's it. But it in no way resembles the meaning that relates to the creation. Is that clear, Brother Shuaib? That's our belief. If you want to give possible meanings, that's ta'wil, that's another story. But for where we at right now, as long as you understand that those ta'wilat, those figurative interpretations are unnecessary if you understand that. And Allah knows best. If it's clear to you. Okay, Sister Aziza, go for it.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Yeah, I understood what you're saying. I'm a new Muslim, so I have these questions, and I just want to make sure, as I'm reading and studying the Quran, and as I'm reading and studying the Hadiths, that I'm not interpreting things in a way that I'm not supposed to be interpreting and understanding.
Okay, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Feel free. Just so I'm one of those, me, make sure it's clear. I'm famous for that stuff, right? What did you understand from what Imam Faheem said?
Well,
the best way you can explain it.
Yeah. So basically what I got is that anything that we read, like if it gives, like, let's say, human attributes to Allah, like the word face or hand, we have to take it as that's not the case. That's not what the word is implying, pretty much, So any word that is translated into the English language, whereby it's translated and putting Allah in a space or giving him human attributes, we're not supposed to look at it with that meaning, basically.
Exactly. Expand that a little bit further, Sister Aziza, and extend not just human, any creation. So make
right. Allah is not like the creation.
Right.
He's not like his creation. So anything that gives a reference or any word that in English that's a creation, we're not to take it as such.
Or in Arabic, right?
Right.
So follow what I mean. In the Quran, right? You have words. Every word has meanings, right?
Right.
So the Quran is revealed in the Arabic language.
Right.
So the words of the Quran are in Arabic. Any other words are not the Quran. So let's keep that in mind, right? So once we translate to any language, that's no longer the Quran. That's someone's understanding of the Quran, which has the possibility of being correct and the possibility of being mistaken.
Okay.
But the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as revealed from Jibreel alayhi salam to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam in the Arabic language, that is the words of Allah.
Right.
And we believe it with absolute conviction. And we don't change those words, even in Arabic, for other words, right? So we don't substitute the words that's revealed from Jibreel to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam with other words that are synonymous with that word in Arabic, even in Arabic, right? Now, as for the meanings of those words, any meaning that resembles Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to created things, that meaning is automatically negated about Allah.
Okay.
Right? Why? Because Allah said in the Quran, "Laysa kamithlihi shay." No thing resembles him. Right? That's it. And then if that is struggling for you, anyone, I'm not talking about you, any of us, the next level is to understand no one knows the reality of Allah except Allah. Right? We don't have a comprehensive knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We know about Allah what he told us about himself, and we believe it as he revealed it without us interjecting in that. Do you follow my point?
Yes.
That's it. That's the belief of Sunni Muslims. So you'll say, well, that's simple, right? It should be, but that's not enough for people. Some people want to put their own words in the Quran. Because if we stop there, do we have a debate? No, we wouldn't have a
Right.
discussion.
No.
That discussion only going to come when you're trying to get to do something extra.
Right.
Which is to say, no, you must understand that literally. Did Allah say that in the Quran? No. Why are you saying it? I thought you only follow Quran and Sunnah. Did the Prophet say, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that you must understand the word, this verse, Yadallahi fawqa aydihim, in its literal linguistic meaning? Did he say that? No. Okay, why are you saying it? Why don't you just say Allah said this about himself, Yadallahi fawqa aydihim, and khalas, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing resembles him. We don't have a discussion after that. So what you're pushing me to, the person would be, is to resemble Allah to his creation, which the Quran explicitly denies. You see my point?
Yes.
That's it. That's the easiest way. Now, if you want to say, okay, someone is pushing this issue, our scholars start to examining other befitting meanings of that word in the Arabic language, which are also mentioned about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but that takes a vast knowledge. And then I say, the possible meaning is this. And because Allah said this about himself, and this word contains this meaning, and that's what it means in this context. That could be true because it is befitting, but does that actually mean that's what Allah intended by that? No. So the safe way is to say what Allah said and say that Allah does not resemble his creation and end of the deal. That's it. That's simple. And that was the belief of the Sahaba, radiyallahu ta'ala, the companions of the Prophet. That's why they have all these debates or these discussions. But as Islam spreads to people who are not masters of the Arabic language, who don't understand all these things, issues came. And then the scholars, when those issues came, responded to them. That's how we get all these details. But if we're not there, let's just stay where we are in our place. Do you understand my point?
Yes.
Is it clear?
Yes.
And that could go for every verse. That's the end of our discussion.
Right.
And if we're believers, that should be sufficient. If you're pushing me for something else, what is it? That would be the question I'm asking. What are you trying to get me? That's the belief of Muslims. That was the belief of every companion. They didn't have this discussion. Why are you making it a discussion? Right? And I'm talking about those Wahhabiyya and Salafiyya, because now we got to go into more details because of the confusion you're adding.
Right.
But what they did is they took over the airwaves, right? And the books and the stuff. And they put all these bad ideas out of there, out in the air among the people. Then when we finally start learning correctly about our Islam as it was transmitted by our scholars, now all of a sudden they want us to be quiet. Right? But you already studied the waters. We gotta clean this before you spill up.
I live in a heavily populated Salafia community up here. I'm in Trenton, and that's what
They don't have a lot of Salafis, do they?
Yeah.
Trenton?
There's only well, I'm in Ewing, so I do go to the Islamic Center of Ewing. So we're Shafi'i there. But in Trenton, there's only like one masjid there in Trenton. And that masjid is Salafi. That's where everyone goes there.
Yeah, well, are you familiar with Masjid al-Sifat?
Yes, that's another one too. That they're I think they're Hanafi there. So there's two. It's Asafat, and then I cannot remember the name of the Salafi masjid.
Masjid Uthaymin.
Uthaymin, yes, yep.
Don't worry, get amnesia. It's good.
So yeah, I'm in Ewing / Trenton, so I do go to the Islamic Center of Ewing. That's where I took my shahada.
Yeah, it's one of our beloved.
I love them.
Yeah, brother Imam Bashir is one
They
of our
share.
imams.
Yes.
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
I used to come to that masjid a lot.
Oh, alhamdulillah.
I gave many classes, many seminars, many khutbahs in that masjid.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So may Allah make it easy. Okay, Sister Aziza.
All
Long as
right.
it's clear, we family, especially this close Jersey stuff we got going on. Let's keep it rolling.
Okay.
All right, may Allah reward you.
Thank you. Jazakallah khaira.
And there's a sister there. Wait a minute. What's her name? What's the sister that does the street? She gonna get mad at me for not remembering her name. She does the intervention with the youth. The older sister, the elder sister.
Oh, there's a lot. I know
She has
Sister
an organization.
Sister Rajia, there's Sister Hawa.
Yeah, she was just at the conference, wasn't
Yeah,
she?
she was at the conference.
Wow, I got
It
it.
might have been Sister Rajia. Is that the Imam's wife?
No. She was
Not
there
her.
too, not her.
Sister. Oh man.
It's Octavia.
Octavia.
I don't know who
It's
that
called
is.
NIA, Neighborhood Improvement Association.
Yeah, you gotta go get with Sister Octavia. She's putting it down on the ground. She need help.
Okay. I'll ask Sister Rajia who she is.
Yeah.
To make that introduction, but I
All
don't
right, may Allah make it easy for you.
Thank
Assalamu
you.
alaikum warahmatullah. Thank you
Wassalam.
for joining us. Okay, Imam Faheem, we've completed the mission. We're 4 minutes. We got more questions?
We have one other question.
Here it goes. You answered that. This one. Brother Uthman Shah.
Imam, does it matter that they do not understand what they are saying if the meaning of that statement only has one meaning in the language? So he said Imam, so he addressed that to you.
Nah, last time I checked, you had Imam Boom Bap in front of your name. Here's the question. Here's the answer to that. Some people don't know language. And language takes different meanings as people use it. So in the origin of the language, a word may have one meaning, but the person in their usage of the words don't know that meaning. They think that the meaning of the word is something else, right? So even in that case, that may happen. So that may be true to someone who knows the language. But for someone who doesn't know the language, they might not even know the meaning that is the meaning of the word in the language because of how it's used in their context. So that's why I said the person actually has to know how people use words, right? It's very important. And in the books of Al-Alfadh al-Kufriya, books that deal with blasphemous words, there are words that are explicit, there's words that indicate things, there's the real meaning in the language, the meaning that is understood and the common of all that stuff is taken in consideration. And let's be honest, most of us don't know the language ourselves to know when meanings are explicit and how they're used in context and how people use words. So all that has to be taken in consideration. So even if what we think is explicit, how the person understands it and how they use it in their context, they would have never known the meaning of that word like that. I'm just saying in general. Now, if you're speaking about something specific, you got to talk to what do the people mean by that, right? And that's important. Like, because if you come in the inner cities, you're gonna hear words like just butchered. We have our like, you don't listen to me. I make up my own words all the time. Language develops, so you know that's to be considered. And the average layman doesn't know those things. There's no way they would know that. Most of us who speak English don't know more than one meaning of a word. Most of us, like common people, we don't, and the meaning that we know of the word sometimes ain't even the original meaning in the language. We only know it according to our usage.
We have one more question from our resident devil's advocate, Brother Furqan Nuruddin. Assalamu alaikum, Sidi. Mashallah. It's kind of long. I don't know if you can put it up.
Where you at?
He says, question for both of you. Most of the common Muslims from both sides say we are saying the same thing, like when they say yed, but the yed is not like the creation. So explaining our position becomes difficult at times.
No, it's not. I want you to explain it. Furqan, where you at? Jump in here.
Yeah.
Come on, get some smoke. Furqan, come get some smoke, huh?
Get over here.
No running. I'm beginning to think you're a plant. You come in there, called me a grave worshiper Saturday, told me I worship saints. Man, you got to answer for that stuff. Get in here. Yo, man, you took me that guy talking about worshiping graves and saints. Man, what you doing, bro? That's some serious bid'ah.
Yeah, but before you jump in, I just want to give one example of how, if you don't mind, Imam, I mean, he said, where's the link?
I'm bringing it. Hold up.
Okay.
Excuse me. I'm sorry, y'all. And I tell you that? Furqan was on his way home. I misunderstood him. He called me he said, we went to Masjid Muhammad. Man, they calling on saints, worshiping graves. Them dudes is way out there.
You getting that bug? You getting that bug a little bit, Imam, or you?
I'm getting rid of it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but, mine's going away too, man. Last week I got
my whole house was like struggling with the cold. Then we get over it. Then we pass it back. You know how it goes. May Allah make it easy.
Okay. So Furqan, is he getting on? Because if not, we get ready to sign off.
No, Furqan, come get some smoke. Furqan is trying his best to be the Rodney King of Islam.
Yeah, he went and signed in the PC. No, yeah. So, but actually, we're not saying the same thing. So, and then we kind of already discussed it.
How you work this joint.
So,
man, all that expensive equipment you work, you don't know how to work a link. By the way, if you want some fresh, nice screen printing quality, our brother Furqan has his own shop. He can make big orders, embroidery, whatever you want. He's like that. Come on, Uthman, come ask your question. I want to meet you. Come out. Come on out, Uthman. Come answer. Jump in. Grab the link. Come on, let's talk.
I don't know if we want, but we can answer that because now you're ready to go in another hour.
Yeah, I'm ready, man. I want to meet my people. I don't like this. We can kick it.
Assalamu alaikum.
Come on, Uthman. Come on in. Join in. We want to hear you out. I can meet you while we're at. Why did you Mama?
How does this joint work?
We hear you. Go ahead. You don't need the speaker. We just need to hear your voice. Go ahead. We don't need a picture. Go ahead. Furqan. He was just working. What happened?
I don't know what happened, man. Furqan, you there?
Yeah, why they sit down? We go ahead, Furqan.
What's up, Habibi?
What is he doing?
Oh, no, man. He must got an Android or something.
Oh, that might be the problem.
What?
Maybe his phone. He don't know how to work it with this.
This boy here with a flip phone trying to play devil's advocate. That's messed around. Okay, mashallah.
Sure, Shuaib, you can ask questions on the. I forget what days we're doing Al Maqasid. We're doing what's today? Tuesday. So I think Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. I think we're doing Al Maqasid. So you can watch the videos and then you shoot the questions. Even if when I'm on, if you shoot the questions.
But can I answer Furqan's question real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
So we're not saying the same thing, because this is what Ahl Sunnah says, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is attributed with yet, right? And there is no, we just leave that as it is. What they're saying is that yet they translate it as Allah has a hand. And they mean by possession, and then they go further to say not only does Allah has a hand, but he has 5 fingers, and then they say befitting his majesty. That's the difference.
Hey, Furqan. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Are you in Africa too? That's why you don't work?
Yeah, I don't know how to work all this stuff. How y'all brothers doing? Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Hey man, I was in your town over the weekend. I didn't get a chance to check in though.
Oh, I was up with the good brother, in the class.
Oh, mashallah.
He ran one of my sahabas up out of there. He ran my ride out of there.
Oh man.
He ran my ride out of there talking about saints and all that, man. Man, kissed out of the grave and stuff like that. brother couldn't take it. Too many miracles, catamats, and everything, So the brother couldn't take it. He had to take me back home.
Wow.
A lot. But alhamdulillah. Nah, but the question was, we have a lot of us have friends on the other side of the fence. And when we explain to them the understanding of Allah is not like his creation, and we use the same verses and stuff that they use, like the istawa and the yad and the seeing and hearing, and we give it our meaning, saying like we leave it alone in the Arabiya, and then if we get pushed on it, then we'll give it a befitting meaning. So they say that they're saying the same thing we saying. When they say, for instance, yad, but his yad is not like our yad, or a yad that we, that we perceive. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of times they don't understand actually what they really be saying. And then if we push it and say, well, y'all saying Allah has an actual hand, even though the hand isn't like ours, they push back and say, nah, we are saying the same thing y'all saying. There's nothing like Allah. So this is the explanation, you know what I'm saying? So when you talking to, I guess, the common Muslim, that has been doctrinated with that Wahhabi and that Salafiyah dawah, they don't really get it. So that's all I'm saying. Like, and then you know what I'm saying about the takfir stuff. I mean, myself, I'm trying to grasp that. You know what I'm saying? Because if it's a bad belief, you know what I'm saying? I know we're not going to call them disbelievers, but if it's a bad belief, it's a bad belief. And anybody that has a bad belief, I mean, the people would say, just like what they do to us. They say we got a bad belief, so we're disbelievers.
So, but they're not our teachers, Furqan.
No, I know that. Yeah, I know that. But I'm just saying that's how they flip. We flip and flop, and we kind of like, doing the same things if we don't be careful.
Nah, but see, here's the catch. Here's the thing. Number one, you got to remember something. We have a challenge here. For all of us, we need to understand it. The basic of basis of all this discussions is in the Arabic language, right? So therefore, you have to understand what they're saying, the meaning of the words they're using, not the words, right? Because the words sound the same, but the meanings are distinctly different. We do not believe the same thing as the Wahhabiyya at all. We don't believe the same thing. Hence, that's why they don't accept us in our creed, and we don't accept them. So obviously, it's not the same. The problem with us is we're not distinguishing in those incidents. What's the difference? The difference is that they're saying Allah has attributes that have the same words and meanings as created things, but we don't know the how of them.
Well, Khan has to mute his mic because there's an echo in there.
I got it.
Okay.
Right. So let me repeat that. So what they're saying is Allah's names and attributes, especially the attributes, have the same words and meanings of creation, but the how of it is different, but it's real and the same. Excuse me, Sunnis al-Sunnati wal-Jama'a, al-Ash'ari, wal-Maturidiyya do not believe that. The words, by necessity of language, are the same. The meanings are distinctively different. Do you understand? Now, Quran, did you understand what I just said?
Yeah, I mean, I understand the whole thing. I'm just.
So it's not the same.
Right, I know it's not the same, but.
So even though it sounds the same, it is diametrically opposed to each other.
Right, I definitely know it's not the same, but the thing is that when you're talking to the common friend, the common Muslim friend who is on that dawah or on the moderate dawah of the Salafiyah, they don't get that. They get, I'm not saying Allah got a hand. I'm not saying Allah got eyes and ears to hear and eyes to see. I'm not saying that. That's what they say.
But that's not what their books say.
Yeah.
So that person doesn't understand even what they're saying.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. Like the common Muslims. So when we talking to our buddies, our friends, our close Sahabas that's on the other side of the fence, we can't expect that they really think, although they explain it like they explain it, they don't really believe it like they explain it.
And that's why I said we don't rush to consider nobody a disbeliever, because they may not even understand what they're trying to say. That's the point.
But then
you got it. Now go explain it. Hey, Furqan, did brother nobody come see you yet?
Man, nobody is not trying to come down Southeast. I don't know where nobody from.
He's from DC, he said.
Man, nobody ain't from DC. If nobody was from DC, he'd be in somebody's Masjid.
All right, Furqan, we love you.
Love you too.
And they start spreading that we worship graves and saints and Master Muhammad, you better come to our defense. Don't remain silent.
For 3 hours, I had to defend you, lot.
All right, because you know that's next. Yeah, I went to Master Muhammad, man, and they talking about graves and miracles. And,
yeah, I had to defend you for 3 hours on the ride back.
I would have loved to be in that car, tickle pink. But you know what's funny? It's not funny, but it's funny. The stuff we talk about is well known, established in the Muslim Ummah, globally and historically, and we don't know nothing about it.
No.
It's
We
in
got
all of our books. All of the scholars had these beliefs and understandings and practices, and they done turned it up so that we don't even realize that we got a whole new approach to Islam. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah.
we got to do better. That's all.
Oh,
But
and
that's what you
also,
said. Out teach 'em.
go ahead, what you say?
I said that's what you said. Out teach them.
Yeah,
So that's what we got to do.
and may Allah, but we also got to be brothers to each other and understanding that some of us don't understand.
Nah, nah.
All right, Furqan, you
Okay,
know what I
brother.
mean? We love you out. I
All
plugged
right.
you. Wait, plug your business real quick.
Inshallah. The embroidery store, and I can be reached via DM on Facebook or Instagram. Furqan22.
So tell them what you do.
We do embroidery, screen printing, t-shirt printing, any textile printing you need. We specialize in youth sports printing, small corporate business printing, and a little bit of personal printing. You got small jobs, but there's no jobs that are too small for us, right? All right, Barakallah Bikum.
All right, wafikum. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa
All right.
alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa
And put,
barakatuh.
and put your information just in the chat so people can get it.
Inshallah.
All right, assalamu alaikum. All right, guess we done, Imam Faheem.
Yeah. So
See? You see how easy that is? Now,
Yeah.
them guys who be talking all that stuff, they could come do the same thing.
Yeah.
And nobody got abused. No one got treated badly. So why they can't come and have a real discussion?
Okay, we were asked to give a plug before we go for the BRT coming to Albuquerque, New Mexico.
All right, give a plug. Plug it in. Get the plug in.
All right, so I don't have the flyer up, but we'll be in Albuquerque, New Mexico with our brother Kashif Muhammad in the community there the first week of November from the 8th and the 9th. And so I don't know if anybody's coming to join us, but if you do, you can contact them.
8th and 9th of November.
Huh? Yeah,
The 8th and 9th of November.
Yeah, that's what I said, right? Or no? 8th and 9th of November. Yeah, and we'll be out there, inshallah. And the topic is, let me pull that up real quick. The topic is,
it's about Aqidah, same
yeah.
issue.
I was just wanted to say the actual flyer. So it says, the Menara Muslim Community Center of Albuquerque, the Black Imams Roundtable presents knowledge and implementation of the proper Aqidah in Islam, Friday and Saturday, November 8th and 9th, 2024. And that will be in Albuquerque, New Mexico. For more information to RSVP, contact Brother Imam Abdul Rauf Campos Marchetti or Sheikh Kashif Muhammad. And you can look it up. Let's see, put that in. Can we put that in the chat?
And we'll share it on our Facebook page as well.
Yeah.
And on Allahu Akbar. And on the Masjid Muhammad website as well.
Yeah, so inshallah we give people time that whoever's going to make that trip out there, inshallah, they come out there with us. And
New Mexico is nice. It's a nice vacation trip too.
Yeah.
Right? It's very beautiful out there, mashallah. And also we support our 3453 family members who've been rolling with us hard, attending all our events, being there, supporting, learning, spreading, teaching. May Allah reward those brothers and sisters in New Mexico and increase them in all goodness, mashallah. And we are looking forward to joining y'all again and helping do a da'wah, inshallah ta'ala. All right, closing out, Imam Faheem, anything else? Oh, please, let us recite Al-Fatiha for our brother Imam Marcellus. What's his middle name, Habibi?
Khalifa, I think it is, right?
Khalifa. Yeah, Khalifa.
Oh, okay.
Who was executed by the state of Missouri, which many say was a complete injustice, and we believe that many. So let us recite Al-Fatiha for his soul, inshallah, that Allah would accept him and make him among the martyrs and righteous people in the path of Allah. Bisira Surah Al-Fatiha. And maybe one week we need to talk about these injustices that are happening in the prison industrial complex and the criminal justice system in this country that still is affecting many, many African Americans, especially in very bad ways in our community. So maybe we need to have a whole topic just on that issue, right? Because subhanallah, this is something sometimes as Muslims, and we take our shahada, we act like we ain't black no more. And we don't deal with the things that the black community deal with. We do. And these are real issues. So we do need to have a whole round table on these issues, because that brother, may Allah have mercy on him, is not the only one unjustly on death row, right? There's a lot of brothers in that situation. And a lot of brothers go through a lot inside those dungeons that you're not aware of. And I know firsthand how that stuff go, right? And so does Imam Faheem and Imam Naeem, because we've personally experienced it. And I've experienced it at every level. So I know how it go, right? So that is something that, mashallah, it you know, we need to talk about that, you know. And also we make dua for Imam Jamil Alameen, that Allah relieve him and give him healing, inshallah, too. Bisir Surah Al-Fatiha. All right, we thank y'all for joining us.
I got one last thing. So our Sheikh Abdul Karim Yahya from Dar Rahman, Detroit, they have well, I couldn't share it here, but there, if you go to his page on Instagram, they have a pledge where you can pledge to recite Surah Yasin for Imam Marcellus Khalifa Williams and dedicate it to his soul. So you can sign up for that at darrahma.org and you know, sign up to recite Surah Yasin and dedicate it to the soul of our beloved brother. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy on him. And more of us can do that, inshallah ta'ala.
And also, I want to remind all of y'all to actually be safe. We're in very trying times, and the next few weeks are going to be, if Allah does not have mercy on us all, serious times for the whole world. And the effects that come from these actions that are happening in the Middle East at this time, we pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keeps people safe, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala removes the harms of this conflict, from humanity, from Muslims, yes, but humanity is going to suffer from this stuff too. So don't be like the ones you dislike. They're not our teachers. Really, the human race is going to be affected by all of these seditions. And we want the human race to have the opportunity to embrace Islam. So we want environments that are conducive for people to hear the message of La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. And in conflict, that message can get distorted. So please, please, please make dua for safety and peace, and watch your tongue, right? Don't be so reckless, especially when discussing these details. That's my advice to all of us. May Allah make it easy for us. Barakallahu bikum wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.